I watched the Title 3 update trailer. It's beautiful. There are a couple things that give me pause, though. That's for sure. There's a couple things that give me pause. Um, if any of the world bros thought Behemoth was bad, Omega is about to fucking wreck our day. For a couple weeks. My prediction? Anybody who's been gone for a while, hasn't been playing, anybody who played way too sweaty in the opening of Wilds, went with the flow of game too easy, didn't come back for title update 2, to play with 9-star monsters and laggy, or was that 3, and we're on 4 now? No, that was 2. Yeah, that was 2, and it was moved up. That's right. So if they haven't come back for Title Update 2 to play with 9-star monsters, to see that things have scaled in high rank, then Omega's about to fuck their day up. The new emotes for Title Update 3 look really cool. It looked like there was like a subclass of some sort. Like, I don't know, maybe it's item bar stuff, but there's like a scene with a hunter like doing spells or animations that would look like Final Fantasy spells, right? With like status splash off of a wand or something. I don't know. That was kind of interesting. So we'll see what that's about, right? Like Akuma gave us a couple item bars. I've also already seen spoilers that the armor from the Omega set is going to have an item bar interact skill that takes a large chunk of your health and creates a barrier that absorbs like 5x the health you took or something. We don't know the math yet. But it's a sacrifice some of your health for an even bigger bubble, future health kind of thing. So that tells me a couple things. It tells me, one, Omega's going to be really hard. And you're going to want kind of like coordinated shit. And you might want to consider Zoshia weapons and Zoshia armor, along with maybe Arkveld for the don't die build. And don't worry about your time the first couple times you kill him, because you're not going to kill him quickly until you get his stuff, where you can prevent that sort of damage to play aggressively, right? Like, that's kind of just my... Just seeing the trailer, that's my initial snap. Kind of... okay. I also see a legitimate group content. Now, it wasn't... I didn't say this on stream. I talked to people in Discords and Facebook groups about this back when Zoshia came out. But I really think that Zoshia High Rank was our very first stepping stone into group content. Now it's very easy for us to all farm him. We all know his moves. But the opening weeks where Zoshia High Rank was out, the difference between his low rank form and his high rank form was big enough that, like, maybe if not running somebody with diversion and somebody who is a dedicated healer, if you weren't doing that, then at the very least just like coordinating to get past Zoshia, right? The first couple weeks was like a little bit more necessary. Like, all I'm saying is, if a sword and shield wide range free meal chug bot showed up in the first couple weeks of Zoshia, nobody was complaining. On any of the opening week Zoshia fights where you ended up and there was 2 fucking hunting horns running 4 total horns, because like each person was running a horn in their primary and secondary, and it was 2 different horns, obviously, and then their 2 horns were different from the other horn users' 2 horns, so you effectively had 4 bubbles on the ground. Nobody was complaining about like lack of DPS with double perma heal fucking hunting horn when Zoshia first came out, and then I think the arch-tempered Apex monsters. Hold on. I think the Arch-Tempered Apex monsters were also stepping stones of sort. I've noticed in my own, when I go in to support people in SOSs in those particular hunts, that if I take at least a build with Flayer 2, the fight seems to go a little more swimmingly, you know? It's a little more smooth. And I see with Omega coming that, like, this is what all of those stepping stones were building towards. I hope you have a, if not a core group of friends, because here, let me divert for a second, because here's the philosophical problem I see with group content in something like Monster Hunter. In Monster Hunter, every single hunter is the main character, right? And that, like, permeates into the base, right? Both of my sons got me into the Monster Hunter franchise. One of my sons loves playing as a group. He loves playing in a trio of hunters. Like, him and two of his homies, they lock a lobby. It's just 3 of them. They don't do 4. You know, they like having one less cart, but they also like having just 3 people. So it's just whatever their preference. My other son, though, prides himself on the fact that he soloed Fatalis eventually, right? Not like in his first couple fucking Fatalis runs, but like he eventually soloed Fatalis, right? And so that's just, you know, and he's my firstborn. So it's like, it's just the difference between player avatar personality typing, if you want to, whatever, you know. Bartleby's Taxonomy of Gamers. That's a fun read. The difference between socializers, collectors, and killers, right? And so in a game like Monster Hunter, we have gotten multiple influxes of players from Souls games. Souls games are wide and above killer-centric solo style, right? You can group up with buddies, but most of the time in the Souls games, people are just trying to invade others in PvP, right? Monster Hunter, the Souls players come in, and they don't get better with the weapons, plural, across the board, right? They come in, and they get better at the timer, you know? If there's... Now we have the... the records board in the Grand Hub, right? And you know, they're doing their best with whatever weapon it is that they main, or you know, 2 or 3 offshoots because the arena quests suck like that, that are close enough to that proficiency, and their main thing is they're trying to get the timer down, right? So, you know, and a group's going to have all sorts. That's part of what I love about the Helldiver community. There are, I don't know if they call themselves guilds or whatever in Helldivers. I'm not in deep enough to know, to be immersed in any of this yet. I've just kind of heard about it secondhand. But anyways, point is, there are like guilds where like they have a quartermaster, 1 or 2 dudes take it upon themselves to like, anytime a new weapon comes out in a warbond, they go test it on literally every single fucking enemy and situation in the game to like find out its, you know, strengths and weaknesses, while the rest of the player base is like doing the main mission order, right? So, you know, there's just differences in players in all games, and all communities. And in a game like Monster Hunter, has a lot of main character syndrome in a sense, right? So like group play is not inherently one of the first things thought of. So when you throw in a monster like Behemoth back in World, or you throw in a monster now like Omega, it's not that the engagement is going to be bad. It's not that the hunt's going to be bad. It's going to be that it's going to force these players to be a type of player they typically aren't, right? That's what they don't like. It forces them to engage their shadow, and that's uncomfortable for any human. But it's the normal progression. It just makes sense. It just makes sense. We bitched and complained about raids, right? About this, or sieges, excuse me, Like, I get it. Not Call of Taroth. Like, Call of Taroth was cozy cozy. She's whatever. Um, Not great, but not redeeming either. You know, so like, just didn't really save the idea of sieges. She as a monster was better than the siege idea, right? And then we didn't like in Rise, we didn't like the stampedes or whatever the fuck they were called, because they sucked. You know, it's garbage. Uh, so I get it. They've been throwing darts at a dartboard, trying to figure out how to get monsters big enough. Because that brings us to title update 4 on this subject. Title update 4 is bringing Gog Myzos. I'm hyped. I wasn't around for any titles with Gog, but I've seen him in bestiaries. My brother-in-law is a huge fucking weeb. He's been playing the Monster Hunter franchise since, like, he had to get it from fucking Japan or whatever. He's a massive fucking weeb. So he's telling me about all sorts of monsters in the bestiary. Gog Myzos was one of them that he told me about. He's like, oh yeah, there's this fucking tar beast that will stick the Dragonator to itself and fucking attack you with it. And I was like, that sounds... I don't want to do that. That doesn't sound... And then Wilds came out, and, I was talking to my brother-in-law, and he was like, hey, did you see the oil pit? Looks like a great place for something like a Gog. And I was like, don't say that. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to... Like, that's one of those games I'd like to have you guys... That's one of those monsters I'd like to have you guys reminisce about, right? Like, I'd give Lagi a try, and they brought Lagi back, but now they're continuing that trend. They're bringing Gog. And you know Gog's going to be a siege. He's going to be our first Elder Dragon. He's going to be our first, possibly, siege, right? Classified as a siege. And sieges are fucking... they're a haphazard, everyone's the main character, capable type of group content, but they're group content. So they've been seeding it along, giving us little stepping stones along the way for the Monster Hunter franchise. That like, hey, you're gonna have to play with your team soon. You're gonna have to play as a team. They dropped it on us back in Behemoth, back in World, because you actually had to do stuff. You actually needed somebody tanking with diversion. If I recall correctly, I can't remember, and Behemoth was before me because I joined in Iceborne to help my kids. That's when they asked me to start playing. Was on Safi. They needed a 4th for Safi, so they were like, hey, you want to come kill this dragon with us? And I was like, sure. No idea what I was getting into. Fucking hard stuck on Master Rank fucking Viper to Tadachi for like 6 fucking days. Just sprinting through base world with defender gear. Like, oh, is this game supposed to be hard? Oh, and then master rank fucking Toby, low rank Toby. I was like, whatever. I didn't even notice him. It was like one and done hunt. Master rank Toby, I was like, fuck. But yeah, if I recall correctly, like Meteor worked like any other MMORPG Meteor, where like everybody needed to group together, and the Meteor only did like one set number of damage, and that damage could be shared. I could be way off on that. I could be just completely misconstruing Behemoth's Meteor with a World of Warcraft Meteor, because I had to absorb as a group in both, or I had to absorb both. Whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It gets me off track. Point is, Omega's going to be like really coordinated. He's going to be less coordinated than Behemoth, it looks like. It looks like he's doing enough area splash shit that everyone needs to take care of themselves, right? There's no like group coordinated, like everybody on this one spot and absorb it, or everybody in this one spot to get behind a rock. And I also, low-key, think that Omega is going to be overtuned. That's what we're going to say, like the community. We're going to say that like Omega's overtuned, and he's going to be like that by design, because I think that Omega's coming out with the intention of lasting until Master Rank. Like, I think there's going to be early adopters who brute force strength their way. They have enough of a capacity in this game, and they want the challenge hard enough that they can do it raw, right? There's going to be a couple standouts in the beginning, but I think that the masses are going to start to really get Omega at or about, like either after, because I don't know. This is the part I'm conflicted with, right? The Arch-Tempered New Udra is going to give us bad blood, but I personally kind of have a funny feeling that like Omega's not going to be woundable at all. Like, I don't think we're going to be able to wound Omega. And I think that's going to be part of the challenge, right? Because, like, that also goes back to the baby steps that the community complained about in the beginning. Oh, the wound system makes the game too easy. Okay, here's a monster that, like, literally can't be wounded because, you know, fantasy flavor, he's a robot. So, like, you can't fucking... can't wound him, right? So I think that's going to happen. I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. On Omega wounded or not. And I think that when we get Jindahad, Arch-Tempered Jindahad, where we can have, like, Lord Favor, because I think that... I wonder, I guess I should say, if Omega is going to be clashable. Because if Omega's clashable, then Deshagama's Might builds will be semi-viable, right? Because it makes up for when you clash. That's like what, 15 or 20 seconds of like DPS lost. Except it kind of isn't. Also though, like clashes are actually really good for us as a community because when somebody's mounted, the damage is like what, cut down by a third or a half or some shit. And that includes some effects. I've showed a couple times on the channel that Flare proc and Blast proc are not affected by mounting, so that's kind of cool. That's something you can use to keep your DPS high in groups where you're going to have plenty of mounts. Maybe you've got a fucking pole dancing insect glaive or something. Anyways, my wife just distracted me. But with power clashing, the rest of your team, it doesn't. I don't think power clash. I don't think the monster leaves. You know. So if anything, that's kind of a DPS window. And then Deshagama's Might and Jindahad's Freedom or whatever he calls it, both give you plus attack after the clash, which for heavy bowgun is amazing because like immediately after a clash, the monster just kind of stands there and stares at you for a second because they're like low-key exhausted without the exhaust debuff, right? I don't know exactly how that works, but it seems to be that way. And that's usually the perfect amount of time to roll forward or backwards and activate special ammo and get the roll reload. And you can roll straight into a special ammo bar dump, right? You can dump your entire special ammo bar. So having that window immediately after your power clash, like that'll be huge, you know. So if power clashing is the secret, if I am kind of like right in this idea process, that like power clashing is one of the ways that we beat Omega, right? Because like maybe it controls him. Maybe you can clash just in time to like get out of an AoE. I don't know yet. I'm just spitballing off the top of my head based on fucking an entire life of going against video game bosses. Same thing with GOG. Like I think GOG is gonna be Dragonator interrupts, probably Rock dropped interrupts. Like GOG is gonna be closer to Zoshia. Because I don't think we can clash Zoshia, right? I think Zoshia's too big to clash. So, brings that up. What else did I see in the title update 3? Yeah, the new emotes. Omega will be overtuned through the end of HR. Yeah, I said that. I talked about that. Oh, yeah. I think that Omega is going to be a sort of stepping stone, right? Like, this is why he's going to feel overtuned initially. In Title Update 3, Omega's going to feel overtuned, and then Title Update 4 is going to come, and whatever secret monsters they aren't showing us outside of GOG plus GOG, like, GOG will kind of equalize, so anybody who hasn't been able to beat Omega will be able to get GOG Myzos and AT Jin armors, and then go back and beat Omega, right? Because I think that's who it's actually tuned for. It's actually tuned for the middle of the pack Title Update 4. I think Arch-Tempered Jin is going to become to be known as Jin to Hard. That's a prediction of mine. Because, like, 9-star Jin is a pain in my fucking ass, dude. Like, I love it. I have smiled about every single cart that has happened since Title Update 2. I swear to God. Every time I see somebody cart now, I imagine they are a Souls player, and I imagine that Sisyphus is smiling. I'm just kind of reading through my Discord real quick to see if in the rant, if I missed anything. Okay, here's a great note. Here's a great note that I talked about in the Discord that I should talk about again on stream. I think right now, is a great time to philosophically, like, I'm using mine as a literal example, but I don't think you need to be a literal example. I'm just clarifying that for nuance for the fucking dummies out there. But I think this is a good time. If you've been up until this point in Monster Hunter Wilds, if you have been filling all of these weapon bars in, I think it's time to reflect on which of those weapons you've enjoyed the most. I think it's a good time to start thinking about what you want to do inside of a hunting party. Right? A lot of people scoffed at the idea of, like, the Sword and Shield fucking Chugbot, right? But, like, the first couple weeks of Wilds, when the mass of the community, I was in those SOSs, bro. I seen you. I seen y'all. I was in there carrying people. I was helping people get through. I was helping people get their fucking gore 4-piece in the very opening weeks. So I seen it. This is based on observations. When people saw fucking Sword and Shield auto-trapping, auto-flashing Chugbot Sword and Shield build that might mount, but otherwise stood in a fucking corner and just didn't let anybody's health get below 60%. Like, nobody complained the first couple weeks when Monster Hunter Wilds Gore was a pain in the ass, because all his hitboxes are ass, dude. They're so bad. They're so bad. 9-star Gore, same thing. I get a Chugbot Lance main in my 9-star Gore now. I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining about the DPS loss. Because you know what's a bigger DPS loss than one person running a support build? 3 people carding. Doing Gore in 2 hours when it should have only taken you 18 fucking minutes. Or less. Like, 9-star Gore hasn't been anything to scoff at. All them fucking Game 2 easy claims went away real fucking quick when we got 9-star. So, yeah, so now might be a really good time to start thinking about specializing. Um, uh, Now is an excellent, excellent time. The Monster Hunter Wilds community definitely needs to hear this. Now is an excellent fucking time to overhaul. Oh my god, what is this outfit that I made? It is so fucking ridiculous. It's so gross. Oh my god, get me out of here. It might be a good time to come make a build out or two. You know, a couple item loadouts. This was my base game. This was, you know, everything low rank through HR 100 when I could make all the things at the Melder. It eventually evolved into this once I started bow gunning, right? Because when I was doing this, I was just straight bow. Straight bow. Started bow gunning. Another 100 hours after that. Oh, actually, this existed second. Yeah, because it went every day. Then Zoshia came out. That's right. Zoshia came out, so I made this fucking loadout. And then I started bow gunning. And then the Arch-Tempered Monsters came out. So I made a loadout that had small barrel bombs included. So I could blow myself up and get the latent power faster off of Arch-Tempered Radau. And then recently, I've been slowly expanding on my mixed bowguns. So this is a heavy bowgun, light bowgun build. That the specialty, the personification of that build, it still can do some DPS, but its main priority is it's a wide range build. I don't think it has free meal on it yet. I think I'm still working on that. I think I leaned more into DPS. Because you'll also notice that even this build, that the only time I would use this is if I'm running a wide range, one of my wide range builds. You'll also notice that even with wide range, I'm still running Dust of Life and Life Powder. For anybody who doesn't know, if anybody who's just joining us in Wilds, or if anybody needs a refresher, like these three items right here, like you need to have them. You need to have them to be an effective teammate in Monster Hunter Wilds. You want 2 Dust of Lives, and it should be, I think, 3 Life Powders. I just need to... Yeah, okay. Yeah, it is. And then 3 Demon Powders. And I know there's plenty of math nerds out there that are going to say, like, oh, if you're only going to run Demon Powder, you might as well run fucking... the emote one. Blangongas, and like that's kind of true, but like nobody wants to be forced into that fucking build all the time. Plus that build has diversion and is now been edged out. Like you don't want to use diversion with that build's DPS ceiling anymore. Not yet. Not until we get it. Not unless you've gotten a God Roll talisman that you can get burst 4 or something. You know, also under that build. Whatever. Not the point. These 3 items, if nothing else. If every single hunter in the game ran these 3 items, from this point forward, the community would feel like the game was challenging enough, but not too hard. And that could be your footstone into support, quote unquote, into teamwork in Monster Hunter Wilds. Because from this point forward, Title Update 3, from this point forward, like, they're not throwing us fucking softballs anymore, bro. Like, do you realize how fucking hard Arch-Tempered and now 9-star Apexes are for a high rank? Okay? We've sort of had this, but, like, not quite. The last time they got anything close to this was the Apex moniker in Rise. But even those were short-lived. And only like 2 of them hit the mark, right? Like, most of them were just like, oh, you're just Rathalos with more health, right? I think it was like Apex fucking Mizu that it was like, oh, your bubbles are on fucking fire now. That sucks. Right? It's like, oh, that's a new thing. I don't like that. The Apex does something. Right? So that's the closest we've had. And, there's a crawl, walk, and run. Because we still aren't even in Master Rank yet for this title. Master Rank has 2 ceilings in and of itself. Every Monster Hunter game is a slow escalator towards a peak. And then at the very end of the title, they just let you break it. They give you skill combos and ways to build loadouts and they just let you break it. And they're sort of giving us the idea that we could maybe break it in Talismans now in Wilds, which is crazy. I love it. But it's definitely it's a slightly steeper treadmill than in the past. So that's something to be noticing. And so yeah, think about bringing support items. Think about what you want to do. Part of why I've started leaning into support as a ranged player is just because I have a better view. A lot of times especially Steve, dude, I've prevented so many deaths just because I saw that they were going to happen. I was like, oh, that guy's going to die. I'm on a wide range build. I'm just going to eat the sushi scale. And sure as shit, like, they would have fucking died. But sushi scale got rid of the group bleed, and they didn't. Like, I saw it coming. I was like, oh, yeah. Whereas they're melee and they're, like, way up close, and they're probably looking at whatever move set, not at, like, a group thing. And then when they gave us AT fucking Utduna boots, I was going to have quick sheath on everything anyways. I might as well be quick sheathing away to get to a demon dust as soon as it goes down, or get to a life powder when I see that somebody's immediately going to need it, or get to a dust of life when I see that, like, homie's just not going to roll the fire out and then gets caught with a fucking punch as well, or something, whatever, just watching people. So for anyone, like, on the note of, like, decision and specialization, if you've been running I know plenty of people that have been running, like, a hunting horn in their offhand, in their secondary, a hunting horn with, like, attack up L, or earplugs, or something, like, whatever it is they couldn't get on their build, they run a hunting horn with that. That kind of idea, but, like, maybe take a secondary that has slightly more group application. I'm not sure what that's going to look like. If you're a shield user, start considering looking at different ways to get diversion. It might so happen that we might want tanks coming soon. We might want somebody running diversion with a shield, or if you're a really good bow player, diversion bow, if you hit all your perfect dodges, can be a great fucking way to tank. My finger's been broken for like 2 months, so I haven't been able to play it in a while. It's another reason I switched to support, was I fucking broke my finger doing cow shit, but that's whatever. Let me scroll down this, because I feel like the rant's almost over. I feel like most of what we talked about, that I was like, oh, that'd be good content. Yeah, see, like, go back and take note again if you've filled out all of the if you've filled out all of the weapon bars, then go back and think back on which ones you enjoyed. And get back into the ones you enjoyed and start to consider a group variant. Maybe it just means running Flare 2. Maybe it just means a hunting horn with a buff. I don't know what it's going to mean for you. Maybe it'll be light or heavy bowgun that only specialize in status. That's actually a really good one. Because like heavy bowgun can sleep or para. Heavy bowgun can get those done almost instantaneously, right? So like the days of all of the fucking greatsword bros running sleep greatswords and like not knowing when a sleep was gonna happen somewhere in the fight, like you can just immediately get both sleep thresholds in the opening of the fight. Like 2 bomb windows right away, followed immediately into a para window. Like that's kind of fucking brutal. Like, if you've got any problems with any monsters, you take 3 buddies that just do DPS, and you take that build with you and tell them what you're going to do. Like, hey, I'm sleeping the monster real quick. And then you do double fucking coordinated wake-ups, followed by double coordinated fucking para window. Like, that monster is not a problem. All because one person shifted off their DPS build to bring a little bit something more for everybody in that capacity. I wish we had damage amplifier abilities. I wish we had, because that's back in World. That's what I really like to run. I really like to run an expose weakness bow build, because the bow clutch claw attack only took 2 to open a wound. So like I could do that, and then the greatsword, the longsword, or the dual blade bros, they'd come over and beat the shit out of that wound, and by the time they completely exhausted it, getting a huge DPS window off of that, I'd already gone and opened a couple more. So they just immediately flowed into another couple other world wounds, right? Because they were different than the wild wounds. But it... Because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing in Monster Hunter World, right? So in lieu of not knowing what I was doing, I might as well be useful somehow, right? My 2 rules in speedrunning Monster Hunter World to get to Iceborne was like, number 1, don't fucking cart. Like, just learn how not to cart. You know? Number 2, like, be useful. You know, so as soon as I found out what traps were, I just always had as many traps as possible, plus ingredients to make traps, right? I was like, okay, this is how I can be useful. And then I found out about the wound system, and I was like, okay, I'll just open those for other people, because I also like heard repeatedly back in the day, bow doesn't do any damage. So I was like, all right, but I'd already committed to learning it, so I was like, all right, whatever. I'll learn a quote unquote weapon that does damage when I get to master rank, which is where I was rushing to anyways. So moving forward from title update 3 on, start thinking like that. Start thinking it'll really help the community, the Monster Hunter community. I'm just scrolling the Discord here. I told you guys that story about nobody's complaining about fucking chug bots on gore and shit. Zoshia, I talked about how Zoshia HR was a really good representation of the stepping stones up to where we are. Okay, cool. I think that is the end of the rant. So, for now, I'm just gonna plug Sam the Tin Man. Go check him out both on YouTube and on Twitch. He's an amazing support player. He's got a bunch of math. He's got a bunch of shit mapped out. He's got every item. He's got videos on every item affected by wide range, etc. Sorry, my dog was whining there. But yeah, Sam's got a great channel, got a great overview on all sorts of support-based stuff. If like strict support is the way you want to go, my support is a little flavored a little differently. I tend to be more utility than support, I guess, in the terms of video games and those words. I tend to be a little bit more crowd control, distraction, taunt focus. And then if I am doing healing support, it's usually DPS first, like, which is why I have it labeled Paladin. I'm damage in frontline first, and the capacity for triage. Like, I'll be the first one to zoom out and notice, like, oh, that guy hasn't fucking stimmed. Stim. Oh, whoops. I'm dicking around with too much. I'm still new to streaming and whatnot. There we go. Stream manager set back up. I accidentally closed out of it. Well, anyways, I think that's the end of my Monster Hunter rant. So, what I wanted to touch on today, in that regard. So I'm gonna switch games now. But anybody who tuned in for the Monster Hunter content, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you. And until the next time, y'all stay blessed.